Feel the dry, burning desert wind whip across your face and sting your eyes until they water. The air is thick, almost choking, heavy with the sharp scent of burning frankincense, dry sand that clings to your skin like a second layer, and the faint metallic taste of fear that lingers on your tongue and refuses to leave. Torchlight from tall iron braziers leaps and spits, throwing wild, jagged shadows that stretch impossibly long across cracked stone walls, twisting and writhing like living creatures trying to escape the light, or perhaps trying to reach you. You hear the low, rhythmic chant of priests echoing through the vast chamber, every word timed perfectly to the steady drip, drip, drip of a water clock hidden in the shadowed corner, each drop falling with deliberate, cruel precision, marking moments that feel heavier, more final with every passing second. Outside the pharaoh walls, the endless desert whispers, a sound that never stops, like the slow, hungry breathing of something ancient and alive that waits just beyond the horizon, patient, eternal, always watching. A pharaoh stands motionless on the raised platform, golden robes catching the dying firelight, eyes fixed on the black, starless void beyond the Nile, a void that seems to stare back. He raises one hand slowly, deliberately, fingers trembling just enough to betray the weight of what he is about to command. The chant dies instantly. The entire temple, thousands of people packed shoulder to shoulder, falls into absolute, breathless silence. In that single, perfectly timed instant, you feel it, deep in your bones, in your chest, in your very soul. This man does not merely rule the river or the people. He rules the fear of what lies beyond the known world. He rules the terror of the unknown lands. He rules the invisible cage that keeps every single person here and has kept them here for thousands of years, too afraid to step 1 foot beyond the green edge of the Nile. This is not fantasy. This is not legend. This is how ancient empires turned the fear of what waited beyond the horizon into the most powerful, invisible cage ever built, trapping entire civilizations for centuries without ever needing to raise a sword against their own people. If the shadows of history just opened your eyes, then stay in the dark with us and subscribe to Mind Origin. Today, we step into the darkness. How fear of the unknown lands kept civilizations trapped. We will walk through 3 mighty empires that were held prisoner by their own terror of the unknown: ancient Egypt, the Roman Empire, and ancient China. Each one built walls, physical and mental, myths, stories, and systems not just to keep enemies out, but to keep their own people in, to keep them obedient, to keep them afraid to look beyond the edge of the map. The journey into the unknown begins now. Number 1. The Red Land's Curse, Ancient Egypt, Fear of the Desert Trap. In the narrow green strip of the Nile Valley, a thin ribbon of life squeezed between endless red deserts on all sides, the Egyptians lived every single day in constant, bone-deep, soul-crushing terror of the Red Land. The desert was not just empty sand, it was a living nightmare, the domain of chaos, demons, death, madness, and everything that could destroy civilization in a single sandstorm or a single night of thirst. The Egyptians called it Deshret, the Red Land, in stark contrast to the black, fertile Kemet along the river. This fear became one of the most powerful, invisible, and enduring tools of control in all of human history. The pharaoh and his priests used this terror to keep the people tightly bound to the river, to the temples, to the ruler himself, and to the narrow strip of green land that was the only place they believed they could survive. They taught that the desert was the eternal home of Set, the god of chaos, storms, violence, foreign violence, and everything that threatened the ordered world of Ma'at. Anyone who wandered too far into the Red Land risked losing their soul to demons, being swallowed by shifting sands, being torn apart by creatures that only existed in nightmare stories told around campfires, or simply dying alone under a merciless sun with no one to bury them. The only safety was staying close to the Nile, close to the temples, close to the pharaoh who alone could protect them from the unknown that waited just beyond the green fields. The myth unfolds like this in real time, moment by terrifying, heart-pounding moment. A young farmer stands at the very edge of the green fields, staring out at the red dunes that stretch forever under a merciless sun that feels like it wants to burn him alive. The wind howls like angry spirits, whipping sand into his face and stinging his eyes until tears mix with dust. He takes one hesitant step into the desert, and immediately the sand seems to pull at his feet, hungry and alive, like it wants to drag him down forever. A shadow moves in the distance, a jackal or something far worse, its eyes glinting red in the dying light. His heart pounds so hard he can barely breathe, his throat closes with panic. He turns and runs back to the river, stumbling over roots, gasping for air, collapsing at the water's edge with his hands shaking. The priests find him there. They look down with calm, knowing eyes and speak in low, soothing voices that still carry steel underneath. The Red Land devours those who leave the god's protection. Stay here, obey the pharaoh. Only he can keep the desert at bay. Only he can keep you alive. The farmer never steps into the desert again. He pays his taxes without complaint. He works the fields from sunrise to sunset. He marries, raises children, grows old, and dies within sight of the river, exactly as the system was designed. He never questions the ruler who protects him from the unknown. He never dreams of what might lie beyond the red horizon. This fear was devastatingly effective because it attacked the deepest, most primal human fear every one of us carries inside, the fear of the unknown. The desert was not just a place, it was the living symbol of everything terrifying that lies beyond the familiar. Chaos, death, loss of control, loss of identity, loss of everything that makes life feel safe and predictable. The Egyptians lived in a narrow strip of green land surrounded on all sides by endless red death, a physical and mental prison they could see every single day. The pharaoh and priests gave them a simple, powerful message: stay inside the known world, obey me. I am the only one who can protect you from what waits beyond. This satisfied the human craving for safety and order in an unpredictable, often cruel environment where one bad harvest or one sandstorm could mean death for entire villages. On a deeper level, it created profound learned helplessness. After generations of being told that the desert was full of demons and death, people stopped believing they could survive outside the river valley. They became emotionally dependent on the pharaoh. Modern psychology calls this illusory control. When people feel they have power over something uncontrollable, like the desert, they become more obedient and less likely to rebel. The fear of the unknown was constantly kept alive. Every sandstorm, every lost traveler, every jackal howl, every story of a body found half buried in the dunes reminded them of what waited beyond. The desire for safety and survival was only satisfied through submission. In this way, the fear of unknown lands became a psychological chain that people willingly wore for thousands of years, a chain so strong that it outlasted dynasties, invasions, and even the fall of pharaohs. A lesser-known detail that adds deep intrigue: the priests had secret desert outposts, small hidden temples deep in the Red Land, far from the river, known only to a select few. They would occasionally rescue lost travelers and bring them back to the villages with dramatic stories of demons they had supposedly fought and defeated. These staged rescues, with fake wounds, theatrical tales, and even bloodied weapons, kept the fear fresh and alive, made the pharaoh look even more powerful, and ensured no one ever dared to leave the known world again. It was a perfect loop of manufactured terror, and it worked flawlessly. 2. The barbarian shadow, the Roman Empire, fear of the lands beyond the wall. In the marble cities of Rome, where legions marched in perfect formation and emperors spoke from golden thrones, the greatest fear was not inside the empire, it was what waited beyond the frontiers. The Romans called the lands outside their borders barbarian territory, wild, chaotic, filled with savage tribes who threatened to destroy civilization itself. This fear became one of the most effective, long-lasting, and sophisticated tools for keeping millions of people loyal to the emperor and the system. The Romans built massive walls, Hadrian's Wall in Britain, the Limes Germanicus along the Rhine, the Danubian frontier, not just to keep enemies out, but to keep their own people in. The message was constant and drilled into every citizen from childhood. Beyond this wall is chaos. Beyond this wall is death. Beyond this wall is everything that could destroy the safe, civilized world you know. Stay inside the empire. Obey the emperor. He is the only one who can protect you from the unknown lands. The myth unfolds like this in real time. A young Roman soldier stands on Hadrian's Wall at night. The wind howls from the north, carrying strange, wild sounds, distant drums, war cries, the howl of wolves, the crackle of unseen campfires. His commander walks the line, voice low and serious. Those are the Picts, wild men who paint their bodies blue, eat human flesh, and worship demons in the dark forests. If the wall falls, they will burn your home, take your family, rape your wife, enslave your children, and leave nothing but ashes and bones. The soldier grips his spear tighter, heart pounding so hard he can feel it in his throat. He never questions the emperor who built the wall. He never dreams of leaving the empire. He stays and fights because the unknown beyond the wall is painted as pure horror, worse than anything inside it. He marches when ordered. He pays his taxes. He raises his children to do the same. Psychologically, this fear trapped people in a mental cage far stronger than stone. It fed the universal human terror of the unknown, the fear of chaos, savagery, loss of civilization, loss of everything familiar and safe. It satisfied the deep desire for safety and order by making the emperor the only protector. The people accepted heavy taxes, strict laws, endless wars, and military service because the alternative, the barbarian lands, was constantly painted as a nightmare of violence, slavery, and destruction. It created a powerful us versus them mentality, where loyalty to Rome became the only path to survival. Modern psychology calls this in-group bias combined with threat amplification. Exaggerate the danger outside, and people cling tighter to the group inside. It also triggered the rally round the flag effect. When a group feels threatened from outside, internal loyalty spikes and leadership criticism drops dramatically. A lesser-known detail that adds deep intrigue: Roman spies and merchants were secretly sent beyond the walls to bring back exaggerated horror stories. These tales of cannibalism, human sacrifice, demonic rituals, and endless hordes were then spread in markets, taverns, public forums, and even school lessons to keep the fear fresh and the people obedient. This deliberate propaganda campaign, a form of ancient fake news and threat inflation, lasted for centuries and helped maintain the empire's mental borders long after the physical walls were built. 3. The Great Wall's eternal prison. Ancient China, fear of the steppes. Beyond the mountains and deserts, where the endless steppes stretched into infinity like a sea of grass and death. The Chinese built the greatest physical and mental cage in history, the Great Wall. The fear of the unknown northern lands, the home of nomadic tribes like the Xiongnu and later the Mongols, became the ultimate weapon that kept Chinese civilization trapped for over 2,000 years. The emperors told the people that the steppes were a land of endless barbarians, horse-riding demons who would destroy everything civilized if they ever broke through. The wall was not just stone and brick, it was a psychological barrier. It told the people, stay inside, the world outside is death. The emperor is your only shield. Crossing the wall was not just dangerous, it was betrayal of the civilized world. The myth unfolds like this in real time. The emperor stands on the wall at night, torchlight stretching for miles in both directions like a glowing scar across the land. Below him, millions of workers toil in the darkness, carrying stones, dying in the cold, their breath visible in the freezing air. A scout returns from the steppes, covered in dust and blood, voice shaking. The barbarians are coming, thousands of them, riding like the wind, burning villages, taking slaves, leaving nothing but ashes. The emperor raises his arms and declares to the terrified crowd, the wall will protect us. Stay inside. Obey the Son of Heaven. The northern lands are death. The people look at the endless stone barrier and feel both safe and trapped. They never dare to cross it. They never question the emperor who protects them from the unknown. They pay taxes, build more wall, and send their sons to guard it, because the unknown beyond is painted as pure horror. This fear was devastatingly effective because it fed the universal human terror of the unknown, the fear of chaos, invasion, loss of everything familiar and safe. The steppes were not just a place, they were the symbol of everything terrifying that lies beyond the familiar. Endless hordes, destruction of cities, loss of family, loss of culture, loss of identity. The emperors gave the people a simple, powerful message: stay inside the wall, obey me, I am the only one who can protect you from what waits beyond. This satisfied the deep desire for safety and order in an unpredictable world where nomadic raids could wipe out entire villages overnight. This created profound learned helplessness. After generations of being told that the steppes were full of demons and death, people stopped believing they could survive outside the wall. They became emotionally dependent on the emperor. Modern psychology calls this in-group bias, combined with threat amplification. Exaggerate the danger outside, and people cling tighter to the group inside. It also triggered the rally round the flag effect. When a group feels threatened from outside, internal loyalty spikes and criticism of leadership drops dramatically. The fear of the unknown was constantly kept alive. Every raid, every scout's report, every burned village reminded them of what waited beyond. The desire for safety and survival was only satisfied through submission. In this way, the fear of unknown lands became a psychological chain that people willingly wore for over 2,000 years. A lesser-known detail that adds deep intrigue: the Chinese emperors secretly paid nomadic tribes to stage fake attacks near the wall. These staged attacks, complete with burning villages, war cries, dramatic escapes, and carefully timed retreats, kept the fear fresh and justified building more wall, demanding more loyalty, collecting more taxes, and conscripting more labor. This hidden cycle of manufactured terror, a form of ancient false flag operation, lasted for centuries and helped maintain the empire's mental borders long after the physical wall was built.
conclusion. As the last echo of these ancient walls fades into the night, one truth remains carved in stone and sand. The greatest cage is the one we build ourselves out of fear of what lies beyond. Ancient empires didn't just conquer lands, they conquered minds by making the unknown terrifying. They showed us that the most powerful prison is the one we never try to escape, the one built from stories, walls, myths, and the fear of what waits on the other side. The real question we must face today is quiet but urgent. What unknown lands are we still afraid to look at? What invisible walls still keep us trapped? What fears are we still allowing to control us? Which empire's fear of the unknown lands felt most familiar to you? Which wall do you still see in your own life? Tell me in the comments below. If this journey into the shadows moved you, shook you, or opened your eyes even a little, hit that like button and subscribe to Mind Origin. New hidden histories, new dark truths drop every week. Until the next chapter, look beyond the wall. But ask yourself, are you really ready to step into the unknown?